Welcome to MTG Ectoplasm, your home for Spirit Tribal and Magic the Gathering. On this episode, I'm bringing back a special guest. He broke down the D&D Adventures in the Forgotten Realm, and this time, it's time for spirits to grab the Minotaur by the horns. Also, WotC screwed up, and I'm just going to say this. Gift bundle boxes. And then finally, ladies and gentlemen, the shout out section, where I'm looking for the best of the best, the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme. Are you excited? Because I know I am. So let's get this thing started, shall we? Let's go. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on this episode. I am your host, White, aka D Blanco, a medium that wears an extra large. You can reach out to me on Twitter, please follow, or you can reach out to me directly at mtgectoplasm@gmail.com. Let me know how am I doing. Am I doing a good job, a bad job, or I shouldn't quit my day job? And then finally, mtgectoplasm.com. That's right, I got my own personal website where I post the latest and greatest episodes. And if you want to donate to this show or sponsor an episode just like this, you can do that there. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I have to admit this. I'm down on bended knee. I'm begging. I'm pleading for you. All right? Do me a favor. Wherever you're streaming this service, this podcast, whatever streaming service you're using, do me a favor. Hit that follow, subscribe, like button. All right? I would humbly appreciate it. Also, tell your friends and family about me because, people like me. And I'm hoping they might like me too. Now, with that being said, now the pleasantries are 100% behind me. It is now time to bring in the man of the hour, friend of the show, the guy who broke down and explained Dungeons and Dragons to us. It is now time for the Evil Shaggy himself. Let's welcome Ray. How you doing, Ray?
Hey there, Dwight. Glad to be back. I'm doing all right.
A long time no speak. I haven't seen you in a quick minute. For those who don't know, Ray is part of one of the few people that I have in my play group. It's about, 12 to 13 of us?
Something like that.
Yeah,
it varies as to who's available.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We started with like a group of 4, and then we expanded, and now we're contracting. We're like a pair of lungs going back and forth. It's kind of funny. And what I find wonderful about our play group is that everybody specifies in different areas. For example, our friend Nick, he was on the show. He did the Death Shadow episode. Your Dungeons and Dragons, so I had you on for that. And then I got my friend Dr. Tom. We both know Dr. Tom, the one that always says,
"Yep,
WotC is in no obligation to help out our tribes," which pisses you and I off.
Oh yeah.
But
he's got a point.
He's got 100% a point, and he's a cube master. You know, he knows the ins and outs of cube. Then we got our friend Chuck, and Chuck is Chuck. For those who don't know who Chuck is, if you ever seen the movie Clerks, that Kevin Smith movie, he's the guy who had his hand stuck in the Pringle can.
If you haven't seen the movie, go check it out. It's a great movie, regardless.
With him in it, he's like, I got my hand stuck in there again. Very comical. He is a very comical individual. I'll just say that much. So
yes, he is.
So with the pleasantries over and done with, I wanted to have you on, Ray, because sometimes when we go to our LGSs, because in the next couple of weeks, I live in New Jersey. I specifically live in Monmouth County, New Jersey. 2 shops. Thank God that the COVID is slowing down, but unfortunately this Delta variant is picking up. 2 shops near me are going to start doing 1Ks for Modern. And I wanted to have Ray on because we as Spirit pilots, and even him as a pilot to his own category he's in, we sometimes lose sight of particular decks that we've never encountered before. Usually they're known as rogue decks, but you can't call them rogue decks anymore because there's a tribe called rogues. So with that being said, Ray is a master of a particular tribe. And I don't know if you remember hearing what I said in the intro about spirits grabbing the Minotaur by the horns. Ray is a Minotaur master. So I wanted to bring him on to share with us a tribe that's not as particularly popular, but it's still a great tribe to play. So I thank you, Ray, for joining me on this. And I guess the first question I have to ask you is, what made you get into Minotaurs? And what do your opponents think when they see it?
So, one thing I will say with the Minitours, we're not popular because we don't have a tiered deck. But there are a lot of fans of the Minotaur build, mainly because of what got me into it. Original Theros block, forget exactly which set it was. Where is he? I believe it was just Theros itself. They had a standard Minotaur tribal build. One point when I was first getting back into the game, I played against that deck. It was slightly modified because it had rotated out. One of our friends, actually, Nick, a shadow guy, he had it from when it was in standard. Played it. I thought it was cool. He let me check it out a few times. So I decided, I want to build this. I want to make this better. And unfortunately at that time, there were very, very few pieces. There were 3 that were actually worth running, or 4 actually. There were 4 pieces to the deck at that point. The rest was see what you can make work. So I started it. It was very rough. And we got to Amonkhet. And all of a sudden we got our first legendary Minotaur that cared about Minotaurs in a big way. Gotten ahead of the worthy. And with him came a theme to the deck. Well, a sub-theme. Discard. All right. We can work with this. Between him, we also got the Blood Rage Brawler. Pretty much the only worthwhile 2-drop in the tribe. And it just started coming together from there. And I have modified it with every set that's given me a worthwhile piece. And it is highly entertaining. And it normally gets a good reaction. No. I've got one of the guys...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
One of the guys at my local LGS, he has a fully blinged out Modern Humans deck. He's got several other tier decks, and he has straight up told me that when I'm there for F&M, he absolutely loves getting paired against me because he loves to play against Minotaurs, because it's always a little bit different, and there's always something he's not ready for, because it is left field. And it's different, and it's not the same net deck build or, well, everybody's running a variant to this archetype. Something different. Well, he's told me he loved it. A lot of the other guys enjoy playing against it because it is different. I love seeing variety.
I 100% agree with them. Like, I know when I play toe-to-toe against you, it is a challenge, but, the only thing, spirits fly, so, I mean, I have that advantage, and there are a couple other small advantages I have, but we're going to get into that in a bit. But the gameplay is completely different, completely playing against, humans, what other tribes? Merfolk, I guess elementals now. I mean, the feel of Minotaurs. I mean, if you're not ready, you're gonna get gored. I mean, I don't mean that figuratively. I mean that literally. It's a tough tribe.
Oh yeah, especially when most of my lords are keyword. I'm gonna stack as many keywords as I can, and here's combat pump, and it goes from all right, it's a bunch of 2/3s to oh wait, they're all attacking for like 7 each, and they have trample, death touch, and first strike. It just got a lot harder to do anything.
Well, that leads me to my next question. Like, what separates your Minotaur deck compared to every other tribal deck that's actually out there? I mean, besides the fact that, yeah, I hate to say we have a little bit more support than you.
Our lack of support is definitely a separation. One of the biggest things that we have that most of the other tribes don't is a lot of the tribes have, creatures of this type get +1/+1. They have plenty of lords, traditional lords. They don't have keyword lords. I've got trample. I've got a Minotaur that gives all the other Minotaurs trample. Another one that gives them all death touch. Another one that gives them all haste. Another one that gives them all first strike. Most of them don't have that fact. When you start stacking keyword abilities, keyword soup gets painful because then you're trying to remember, wait, if I block here, oh wait, they all have death touch. I'm losing anything I block with. Or, they all have first strike. I'm preventing damage, but I'm not really doing anything. Or they all have trample. Most of the other tribes don't have keywords getting passed around at the table. Whereas that's the big thing for Minotaurs. You will pass out keywords like it's nothing.
Well, that's a blessing in disguise for you guys. So let me break down real quick. I'm going to actually, once this episode gets posted, I'm going to post his link to his deck up so you can take a gander at it. But I'm going to read it to you. I hope you don't mind, Ray. So you have 21 creatures. You have 3 Blood Rage Brawlers, 2 Croxa, the Titan of Death Hunger, 3 Fellhide Petrifiers, 3 Neb the Worthy, 4 Rage Blood Shaman, 3 Rage Mongers, 2 Ragma Warcallers, 1 Nibbled the Eternal. Then you have 2 Planeswalkers, which is 2 Argoth the Flame Chained. And then we go to your spells, which I actually like what you have here. Some of it, not all of it. 4 Lightning Bolts, 4 Thoughtseize, 3 Terminate, 2 Bedevil, 2 Risk Vector, and 1 Cut the Ribbons. And then artifacts, you have 3 Aether Vials, and then finally 18 lands. 2 Blood Crypt, 2 Blade Stainmire, 3 Dragon Skull Summits, 1 Field of Ruin, 2 Gorse Quarter, 4 Mountains, and 4 Swamps. And then in the sideboard, you have 2 Alpine Moon, 2 Vandal Blast, 2 Amulet of Safekeeping, 3 Argos Rampage, 2 Witches Vengeance, 2 Crumble to Dust, and 2 Leyline of the Void. Let me just tell you, that's a lot. That's there's certain cards that I do have questions for you, if you don't mind.
And I will try to answer it as best I can.
No, what I will say is that as a Spirit player, we tend to play with 4 Aether Vial. I see you're playing here with 3. Why is that?
Yes. Ragemonger. Ragemonger is a 2/3 for 1 black-red. He reduces the cost of all Minotaurs by a black-red. And that more or less knocks the Minotaurs down to, you got 1 that goes down to 1. If there's multiple out, I can bring them down to, most of them down to 1 mana. I can bring my 5 drops to either 4 or 3 mana. If I have multiples, they're both at 3 mana. Because I have that built-in cost reduction, I'm able to go, all right, budgetary, save a little bit, only get the 3 Aether Vials. I have a backup because the Ragemonger's knocking price off the mana cost.
Okay.
So I'm able to run a little bit less on the vial, and I have a creature that supports it, so it works out.
Okay. Now in the land section, this is where I'm like, I see you're only running 2 fetch lands. Can I ask why not a play set of fetch lands?
The fetch lands, once again, this, while it is no longer budget, started as a budget build.
Okay.
It has grown, and I was getting cards when they were at their cheapest. So that one was let's try Bloodstained. I liked how it runs, and before I could go and pick up the other 2, they jumped in price.
So if you could, if financially capable, would you recommend for Bloodstained Myers?
I mean, the fact that it's running the 4 of on Thoughtseize plus the Shocklands, I mean, yes, your life totals is another resource, but sometimes you want to keep it a little bit up because this is very much an offense-based deck. I'm not much on defense unless I'm already on the back foot.
Okay.
So, I mean, definitely go up to at least 3. But one of the other things that I have to keep in mind is the ultimate piece that is missing with any tribal deck. Notice there's no Cavern of Souls.
I was going to bring that up. I was going to ask one other land, and then I was going to save that one for last, but you want to go there, so we'll go there. Now, the reason why you don't have Cavern of Souls, I'm assuming, is because of budgetary issues. Other than that, yeah. I would see you running maybe 2. Am I wrong in thinking that?
I'd probably put it up to 3 minimum.
Oh, wow.
Just because counter protection is awesome.
Okay.
So,
and
it's one of those.
Yeah, it's
and once you
go ahead.
Once you add in the caverns, all of a sudden, all right, I can fetch out lands. Well, you can't fetch the caverns, so being able to pull the 2 blood crypts or pull a missing basic if you need it, or that emergency swamp for when you're playing against a blood moon.
Okay, so like this is more of a budgetary build, but if you want to look at this deck and get more, I'd say aggressive, you'd put like 1 more Bloodstained Mire. You would put 3 Cavern of Souls. Now, how about this? I figured I'd ask this because us Spirit players, we use 4 of them. And I'm talking about the quick lands. Why don't you have quick lands in this deck? Or is it also a budgetary issue?
I'm trying to remember which one the quick land is for Red and Black. I believe it's Blackleaf Cliffs.
Yes. I think that's it.
I believe that is it. I think that one more or less falls solely into, it's got 2 printings, and one of them is an expedition. So, yes. Plus, that's one because Blackleaf Cliffs.
Don't be cheap, Ray.
The wording on it.
Don't be cheap, Ray. It's only $50 a piece. That's it. Come on.
Yeah, only 50. But it's also one of those. Could it optimize the land base better? Yes, but your turn 1 plays in this deck is Vile or Thoughtseize.
Right.
So once the Vile's out, turn 2 you have protection that you're worried about. So while they'd be nice, they need to get reprinted before it becomes a serious consideration.
Now, if they were reprinted, how would that change this deck? I'm just looking because right now you have the budgetary alignment. How, like, if we really wanted to put this deck over its hump, how many would you put in?
With the Cliffs, I mean, that's one where it'd be no more than a 3 of.
Okay.
So it'd be dropping the Field of Ruin and 1 of each basic land, just to balance. True optimization, I'm dropping 1 of the spells, 1 of the creatures, and increasing 1 creature and increasing land count by 1. It is a very land-light deck, I'm aware.
Extremely. Yes. I saw because Spirits, when we play Spirits, we play about 21. And, there's certain players, like me personally, I've tried 20. I don't like how it feels. so I always stick to about 21. When I go to Bant, sometimes I'll go to 22, but then I feel like it's too much because, I am running 2 Noble Hierarch and 3 Birds of Paradise. I guess that's the new way of doing the Cocoa version of Spirits now. I personally love how that feels. But one thing I'm going to go into your sideboard. We will go back to your main board. But one thing that surprises me about this is that even though you have quite a bit of, dual, I hate to say dual land, but dual function land, where you can use red or black. I'm actually surprised you're not running Blood Moon to affect other people's lands in the sideboard.
With the meta that I normally play in, there's really 2 decks that, up until recently, there were really only 2 decks where I had to worry about lands, and that was Valakut, so Escape Shift builds, or Titan Shift, and Tron. And Alpine Moon shuts both down.
Okay.
And it has no negative impact on me. So it's one of those. Now, Blood Moon is looking a little bit more optimal, but at the time I last built it, so before the world went away, Alpine Moon was perfect run. Because I was able to shut down the 2 decks that were mattered and keep myself running perfectly fine.
Okay. Now, going back to the main deck, one thing I love is that you're using Kroxa. I think that's a very good card, even though it's not a Minotaur. I'm not afraid to say Spirit players, we've used Thalia, and, she wasn't a Spirit, so you guys using Kroxa, I mean, it makes sense in this deck. I mean, it lowers the land count of an opponent and makes them lose some life. What is your thought on Kroxa in this deck?
Kroxa is here. He aids with the discard sub-theme, and it's a recursive threat. So that is always a good thing to have. Because, all right, board wipe got hit, whatever. Well, there's Kroxa in the yard. Okay, I'll bring Kroxa up. Makes it where, all right, now they've got to deal with the Kroxa, and I'm able to rebuild the Minitours.
Okay.
So having that recursive threat is always a plus. And he also fills the role of a 2-drop because, like I said, there's only one good 2-drop in Minitours.
Now, is there any... I understand that this is a budgetary deck, but I mean, is there any major cards that you would have liked to put in here in the regular spell sections, like what, Culligan's Command?
Culligan's Command is one I've considered, even with the budgetary constraint. But it's one of those, with what it does, having the modes is nice, and it may end up working its way into a future iteration, but I've got most of its modes covered. So...
No, the only reason why I bring that up is just because of the fact that, it can, you're talking about hand disruption. It does that. The fact that, if you have a creature card that you do like, it brings it back to your hand. The fact that it destroys artifacts. The fact that we have Hammer Time right now, doing damage. And especially the fact that you have, what is that one land that has that infected you can put the hammer on? Inkmoth Nexus. I mean,
yes.
This right here would take care of Inkmoth. 1, 2, 3. You know what I mean? So I mean,
now,
go ahead.
Now, with Culligan's Command, outside of the recursion on it, I mean, discard. I've got Thoughtseize for initial. All I have to do is hit with Neheb the Worthy, and surprisingly easy once you start swinging to get hits in, because Trample and First Strike make it fun. But destroying the artifacts, the Bedevils cover that. I've got the sideboard with Vandal Blast if it's really an artifact-heavy deck. So it's one of those, at 3 mana, it may work its way into a future iteration if I really decide to fully optimize and change a few more things, but with what I have available creature-wise, I need a few pieces before I'm even going to worry about that.
Okay.
I need some more support.
You need WotC to come out and go, hey, Ray, we got something for you. More Minitours.
Pretty much. I need a few more power and toughness lords that are static ability.
No, I hear you.
And then it'll be, all right, trim a few here, trim a few there.
Yeah, because I'm going to be honest with you, because at 21 creatures, it's pretty light. You know, it's creature light. So I understand why you have so much creature destruction.
Yes. It is creature light. However, I've had turns with 4 creatures on the board swinging for over 20 damage.
And yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah.
No.
So it's one of those, I can negate the creature light just because they get real tall real fast.
I hear you. Now, real quick, what are the key cards that make this Minotaur deck exceptional?
The key things that make it really run, there's the package of 4 Minitours between the Rageblood Shaman, the Kragma Warcaller, Bellhide Petrifier, and the Heb the Worthy. So that gives you keyword soup, plus it gives you your power boosts.
Right.
Because the Shaman does +1/+1 and trample for everyone else, has trample himself. Petrifier gives the rest of the team death touch while having it himself. Warcaller attack. Minitours have haste, and attacking get +2/+0. And the Heb is first strike, and depending on pretty much if you have 1 or fewer cards, they all get a static +2/+0.
Mm-hmm.
So it adds up quick when you have keyword soup and an effective +5/+1.
Okay. Now, real quick, what are the main weaknesses to this Minotaur deck?
Obviously, due to the lack of that one land, counter magic is a big issue. So if I'm playing against a control deck, I have to get in underneath it with Vile and getting in the right creatures. Flyers can be a problem unless I have one of my many pieces of removal on hand. Aside from that, I can more or less go toe-to-toe with creature decks. Combo decks, I have sideboard pieces to help out with. A lot of it comes down to timing, because especially in, for example, the Spirits deck, I'm good right up until I see that second Drogskull Captain. Long as I can keep it to 1 Drogskull Captain, I'm in a good place.
Okay. Well, we're going to get there soon. We're going to talk about the matchups in a bit. Now, real quick, what would you say are the best matchups that you see when you play Minitours?
One of my best matchups, I have a surprisingly good matchup against the current Stoneforge deck, just because I'm able to get in underneath it a lot. Having targeted removal to get rid of Stoneforge herself is quite convenient.
Right.
Because when you can't use her to get Cauldron in for 2 mana instead of 7, you get stuck on a 7 mana card in your hand. And it's too late when you hit 7. Aside from that, pretty good matchup against humans. Merfolk is another one I've got a good matchup on. Burn I have a surprisingly good matchup on. More just because I'm able to burn right with them.
Okay.
And I've got bigger threats that I can put on board. So,
now, what would you say are your worst matchups?
The worst matchups that I've had recently, definitely the variations on Esper Control running around. That's another one that I've got
How
a
about
bad
the is it
matchup.
how about is it prowess decks?
Is it prowess? That one can go a little bit of either way. It's not a bad matchup, but it's not a good matchup. It comes down to what the draw is.
You know what? Let me run them down. How about Hammer Time?
I actually haven't gone against a Hammer Time deck since they've started getting popular.
Okay.
So that one I don't have a one way or the other answer. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, you're fortunate. I'll tell you that much. I've played against it here and there at the local shops, and let's just say I am not a huge fan of that particular, shall we say, deck. Not a huge fan at
Now,
all.
now is that one more of a strictly all right? Is it more of a boggle style build, or is it more of a creature heavy and just stick it to whatever stuck? The
Um,
hammer.
Hammer, honestly, the way that I've seen several players do it, they try to put it on like the small creatures like Memnite or Ornithopter, and then of course they'll use Sigarda's Aid, or they'll use Stoneforge Mystic to put it on those creatures, or the one that they love to do, and it just chaps my ass, is they use the Inkmoth Nexus. They put the hammer on there, and then boom, that's 11 infect damage.
All right. Well, running the multiple land ghost quarters helps on ink moth builds. It's kind of hard to do much when your ink moth gets destroyed.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
In regards to small creatures, they tend not to last long. Between the keyword soup, or I'll just you don't get that creature. I'll burn it away, or I'll just tear it out of your hand before you can play it.
All right.
But
Now, how about the new hot sexy deck right now? That's what I'm calling it. The Elementals tribe.
elementals it's a race, just because they're relying on flooding the board. So game one will come down to who can get underneath who, and I don't think there's that many lords for the elementals per se.
No,
It's more
there's
just
zero. There's zero lords. It's just them playing their creatures with flash and using
yeah.
their evoke ability to make nonsense, and the fact that they have Risen Reef. Oh, I hate that. It's such a great deck. It plays like butter, but it's a pain in the deck for those who play against it.
Yeah. I'm
And
trying to
then
think.
let me ask you about this last one, okay? Because I know you have enough very close to your heart this Minotaur deck, but I know you enjoy playing another style, and I have to ask you about the matchups against these two: Minotaurs versus Mill.
Against Mill, uh, eh, that one can come down to how fast they can get their key Mill cards running. Because they tend not to have much in regards to just straight removal. They rely on you just not being able to cast anything because it's in the yard already.
Right.
I don't need many pieces because they stack up nicely.
Then
That one,
you remember you get that I think it's Tasha's hideous laughter. I mean that might I don't know how much that affects you.
that one could have an impact. I mean, unfortunately, Mill doesn't see much play anywhere in Modern.
In what I'll say in MTGO world, it's
Is it
2.4% of the meta. So it's like
okay? So it's going somewhere right now.
it's currently the seventh most popular deck in the current meta. In that's MTGO world. In true paper world, I'll be honest with you, I don't see it.
Nah.
I haven't seen it in our local area, but I know there's some individual out there who would love to sit there and play it against me and go, nah, I milled you, you jerk.
Oh yeah. In the, most of what I do is paper, so
And me too.
I would
So
love to see the matchup against a true mill deck, but
yeah, because
unfortunately, until someone shows up in paper, I'm probably not gonna.
no, I hear you. Because I played against Hammer Time. Is it Tempo? I've played against the Elements deck. I played against Crashing Footfalls, Living End. I've also played up against Urza's Kitchen, Amulet Titan. I mean, there's several decks that I played against in my local area. Tron, Eldrazi Tron, Green Tron, and Eldrazi Tron. These, damn, I wish those things would go away, but they don't. You know, so I played against those decks, and man, it's just like, can't somebody try something different, something fresh, something new? And new was the Elements deck.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you real quick. How do you see the matchup against Spirits? Let's start with Azorius. How do you feel about the matchup against the white-blue Spirits?
Sorry.
That's the one
Now
I
I'm trying to
usually play.
remember.
That's the one I usually play.
Yeah, I forget. Do you guys run much for Counterspell or variations thereof?
The only counter spells we usually do is 4 Mausoleum Wanderer in the main, 4 Spell Queller in the main, and then we have we're usually running maybe 2 or 3 Force and Negation, depending on the meta. Currently, we're running, I believe, 2.
Okay. Yeah.
And then
That
right now,
because
just so you're aware, Hexproof, we are running 4 Rattle Chains, the 4 Drug School Captain, and just recently we decided to put in 3 Phantasmal Images.
yeah, that one. Because I've dealt with that. Normally, best thing is make sure your opener has at least one piece of targeted removal so you can get rid of the first hexproof guy. Because as long as we can keep you down to one of them, I mean, we normally were able to get taller and make it where you kind of have to block, and it's never advantageous. That one, it's if we can get through your counter magic and keep you down to only one of the hexproof lords, we're normally in a good spot.
Now, what do
So
you
it's pretty much.
like? Even though it's not counterable, how do you guys feel about the us using Skyclave Apparition?
I mean,
Do you know what
for
Skyclave Apparition is? Just out of curiosity, just to make sure.
it exiles. I think it's a creature on the board, and then when it leaves the battlefield, the owner of that creature gets a token with power toughness equal to the CMC of the card.
Correct.
That one doesn't really affect me, outside of the fact that, it's no longer a Minotaur. It's, on average, at least a 3/3.
Okay.
I mean, all right, so I'm trading my 2/3 pumpable body for a 3/3 static body. I'm not losing too much.
Okay.
So
the Azores, it to me, I'm not going to say it's a fun matchup, but I think Spirits has the advantage.
Spirits definitely has the edge with flying and the hexproof.
And go ahead.
But as we've seen, I can speed underneath it, and it stacks up quick.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about Bant, the white, blue, green version, where we end up using Birds of Paradise, the 3 Birds of Paradise, and the 4 Noble Hierarch, and then end up using Coco, Collective Company, to vomit out creatures.
I mean, that one, the biggest concern is the Coco. Just because you can double hit on your hexproof guys, and they both enter at the same time, which locks out targeted removal. Hierarchs and the bird, I mean, there's a reason Bolt the Bird is a phrase.
I hear you.
So that one, as long as we can just keep working to either remove the mana dork or just power through it before you can get to Coco. Coco's a threat that I've had to deal with in other decks. it's always going to be there as long as it exists.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you, what is the best way for spirit pilots like myself, I hate to say this, to kick your ass?
Honestly, and this is one that my LGS has slowly learned, is everybody's always like, oh, target the lords, target the shaman or Naheb or the death touch guy when they first see the deck. Honestly, if you're playing against the Minotaur deck, target Ragemonger. Get Ragemonger off the board, don't let it stick, keep it away. Because a Ragemonger on turn 3 turns into a very, very broken turn 4 and turn 5.
Yes.
Because
I remember.
I've now cut red-black off the cost of each Minotaur.
I remember last time I played against you, I took that out and it slowed you down to no end. And I was like, thank you, sweet baby Jesus. And then I found my way around to get the victory. Because, yeah, Ragemonger is brutal. Absolutely brutal to deal with. You know,
and nobody targets him first because, all he does is reduce the cost.
That's free mana.
Like they're forgetting that's an unbelievable advantage in any deck when you've reduced the cost on spells. Everybody's always like, oh, whatever, it's Ragemonger. There's bigger threats to worry about. It's like, no. Because if you can stop a Ragemonger or get rid of it, I'm now slowed down a turn or 2 or 3.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. So you heard it here from the Minotaur Master himself. If you want to win against Minotaurs, Ragemonger. And if you want to win against Elementals, I'll tell you right now, Risen Reef. Get that bad boy.
Mm-hmm. And spirits just don't let you have hexproof.
No, let us have hexproof. What are you talking about? This is a spirit tribal podcast. What are you talking about? Let me ask you, what is missing from Minotaur Tribal to make its claim, to make it say, hey, this tribe is now standing tall, our horns are out, and we're going to gore you to no end?
Honestly, the one piece that's missing is someone to complement Rageblood Shaman. He is the only +1/+1. He's the only one that gives a toughness boost. Most Minotaurs are 3 toughness. So getting another True Lord, which, I mean, there's an easy one to do. It's a modified version of the Fellhide Petrifier. Make it cost 1 black, Death Touch, and +1/+1. Look, now there's 2 True Lords plus the Warcaller and Naheb the Worthy, and yeah, then it's a real threat.
Now, if you...
That's our biggest thing. That or some 1-drops.
I was gonna go there, but you know what? Let me ask you the next question first before I get into that. If you were to create a Minotaur card, and WotC goes, you know what, Ray? We know you've been suffering, and we heard that you created a Minotaur card. Within reason, what would it be?
I mean, within reason, the example I just gave would be a very reasonable one. For one a little bit more far-fetched, give me a 1-drop that 1-drop 2/3 menace. Other Minotaurs have menace. Nothing else.
Okay.
Make it legendary, fine, but something for the 1-drop slot that's worth running. Because so far there's 2, and 1's a changeling.
See, I would definitely say like a 1-mana Minotaur and be like a Minotaur calf that that has something extra to give. It's like I wouldn't say give it +1/+1, but give it +0/+1 to add the toughness. But has an added ability. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, for the color combination I'm in, and for keyword soup, menace would be the ability to add. The +0/+1 would be awesome, but that stacking on those 2 features, it's definitely going to have to be at a legendary creature. Which, okay, fine. I can deal with that.
The only other one I thought of is a red and a black Minotaur. It's a 2/2, and we call it Blightning Tour. and it does the same thing as a Minotaur, but a 2/2?
It'd be interesting. Definitely be an interesting one. It'd be the only other 2/2 that's really worth touching, man. Because Neheb the Worthy's a 2/2.
Yeah, I figured it'd help with the discard and dealing damage. It's like, oh, you know what? For 2 mana, a red and black, and it's that's specific, where it's a little challenging to get out, you know, and having a 2/2 body, it's not that bad.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that'd be good. I would run that.
Oh, I know you would. That's the problem. That's why I'm suggesting. Now, is there anything else you want to share with us, the listening audience, the 1,000+ of us worldwide, about Minotaurs and why we should be part of the Minotaur bandwagon?
Honestly, you will never have a disappointing matchup. Because no matter what, you're going to get that, okay, that was an awesome run. Because, like I said, everyone I've played against always gets a kick out of playing against it because it's almost there.
Right.
And if you pilot it right, you can take down the tier decks. I've taken down Amulet Titan. I've taken down Eldrazi Tron. I've beaten humans. I've had fun with some of the Ragavan decks that are going around. And your opponents will have a good time. You'll have a great time running it. It's straightforward, and it's fun.
There you go. You heard it here. Now, that's the end of segment number 1. Before we go into segment 2, oh, excuse me. I have an announcement. So, Ray, I hope you're excited because I don't know if you've been listening into the show, but this is a huge announcement for me. On August 16th, mark it down on your calendars, ladies and gentlemen, for you listening worldwide, August 16th, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. Okay, that's U.S. time, 9:30 Eastern. I am going live. All right, I'm going live on Twitch, on my Twitch channel, MTG Ectoplasm. Thanks to friends of the show, Wrecked Productions, that's WRECK, the letter D, productions.com. They're joining with me to put my podcast out there live so you can visibly see my show, me, and my special guest. My special guest, I'm going to let you know the name on Friday or Saturday's episode. So you hear it here, Friday, Saturday's episode, you're going to know who the guest is. I've already spoke to the person multiple times. I'm excited to have this person, and I'm letting you know it is a spirit master through and through. I got this person, and I could not believe it when they said yes, and it was an emphatic yes. So ladies and gentlemen, worldwide, if you are a spirit tribal individual, you need to watch my show August 16th, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch at MTG Ectoplasm channel. What do you think, Ray?
I'm giddy. I want to know who the guest is.
Oh, he's a spirit master. And that's all I'm going to tell you right now. But I couldn't believe it when he said yes. I'm excited. I'm jovial. I'm giddy. And that's going to be my 50th episode. It's been a while.
Stream.
Now, amazing, right? Ray, like when I told you guys, I'm going to start streaming, you guys like, yeah, the way, it's going to be my 50th episode. That episode. I think you're on episode 47 right now.
Nice.
There you go. So
we're getting there.
There you go.
You can do this.
Now, in segment number 2, thank God I have Ray with me still. In segment number 2, WotC screwed the hell up. And what else is new? Because what happened is that currently, if you go to your local Wal-Mart, which I did, I went to 3 separate Wal-Marts in my area, in Monmouth County, and one in Mercer, I'll be honest. I found on the shelf, and I should have taken pictures. My wife wants to go back to Walmart to purchase some, so I'll probably go over there and take pictures if I can, of Dungeons and Dragons Adventures in the Forgotten Realm gift bundle boxes. Now, Dwight, you're going to be like, Dwight, what the hell's the problem? What the hell's the problem here? Well, the problem is, ladies and gentlemen, that how is it possible that WotC, this big box retailer, has something that the local LGSs need and deserve and should be spending, should be selling to us, so we, the consumer, could be buying from them, the LGSs. To me, personally, the big box stores have enough out there. They're making their money, and it's not fair to the LGSs who are sitting back desperately attempting to draw money after and during this pandemic. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair. Now, I don't know how many of you out there are going to actually buy a gift bundle box set. I know Ray is, because he's a huge fan of the D&D Adventures in the Forgotten Realm, and I know you plan to build a cube on this set.
Cube is almost ready, actually.
Well, look at that. So let me ask you, Ray, how do you feel about that? Did WotC do the right thing, or did they screw up like I'm thinking and giving it to Wal-Mart and not the LGSs yet?
Now, one thing I will say, and I'm not sure if this is exclusive to my LGS, but my LGS does actually have them. They had them on Friday.
Really?
Yes.
Because I've literally made the phone calls, and not a single retailer near me, and I'm talking about like a 25-mile radius, you're 30 miles. Okay, has it. And it let me just tell you, they have that like hair up your ass, that terminology.
Oh yeah.
It lit me on fire when I found that out.
I'm definitely in the ballpark of the gift pack, the gift bundle, things like that. You should keep that as an LGS exclusive. I mean, these are the guys that are hosting your events, doing the most to get your product out there. Got to give them something unique. You're keeping the secret layers to yourself. Give them something that's going to go, hey, come buy it from us. Come check what we've got. Keep us going.
Last time I checked, every Walmart has either a McDonald's or a Subway in it. Okay, Walmart is not having tournaments in these little storefronts for us to play. No. Just saying.
I mean, Walmart should more or less be relegated to, you can get you can get packs, or you can get the pre-con decks, the basic edition, like the regular bundle. Fine, but your more premier stuff, I mean, you're spending more money for it if you buy it at Walmart than if you buy it at your LGS.
All right. Well, I'm happy that we're in agreement here, and I hope, ladies and gentlemen, it's completely different, like it is for my friend Ray, that, that your local LGS has this product. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I like the product. I know many of you out there didn't care for the product, but, the here or there, I hope your LGS has it before your local Walmart. Now, if Walmart wants to sponsor me, then I rescind everything I just said. Look, I'm not a sellout. I'm buying in.
Let's not hold our breath.
No, I'm just saying, I'm not selling out. I'm buying in. Okay. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time. It is now time for the shout-out section, where I'm looking for the best of the best, the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme. And thank God, this week, that's right, we got winners in Historic, Modern, and Pioneer. We did a little bit better this week than we did last week. So, with that being said, let me start in Historic. As we know, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know. WotC doesn't give me the name, but I'm going to still shout you out the same way. On August 2nd, first place in Historic, someone used a mono blue snow build. It was a mythic, platinum mythic rank player. So congratulations to you for proving Spirits is a great deck. Now in Pioneer, on August 1st, an individual in first place with an Azorius build, and that's Bruno Marconi. Congratulations, Bruno. On the same day, first place with a mono blue snow build, and that's Yamamoto Kaishi. Congratulations, Yamamoto Kaishi. Now, on August 2nd, an individual went 5-0 with a BAMP build, and that's Mike Loretta. Congratulations, Mike. And then on, it was actually yesterday, August 8th, first place in a BAMP build, Sheffin. Congratulations, guys, for kicking ass out there in Pioneer. And then finally, in Modern, this individual went 5-0 with an Azorius build. That was August 3rd. And that goes out to whom? Raging Pikey. Congratulations, Raging Pikey, for proving that Spirits is a top deck in Modern. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't hear your name while I'm sitting there doing the shout-outs, have no fear, have no worry. I'm just going to ask you one simple thing. Don't give up on Spirits. Go out there, kick ass. Make sure if you're making mistakes, learn from your mistakes, and go out there and just thrive and make your opponent say, that's bullshit. Now, with that being said, Ray, is there anything you want to shout out?
I will say a second shout-out for East Coast Gamers in Tom's River. Give them a try.
Do you have an address for them this time or no?
I
Okay.
had it last time. I don't have it on hand.
Well,
okay.
If East Coast Gamers are listening, we're going to shout out East Coast Gamers in Toms River. Let me just tell you, they're a great group of people, great business owners. They play more than just Magic the Gathering. They have computer games, and they do a lot there, ladies and gentlemen. And the fact they ended up getting this Dungeons and Dragons Adventures in the Forgotten Realm gift bundle box, that's even great. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the show. And guess what? Be kind to one another. And remember, next time you're kicking your opponent's ass, make sure they say, that's bullshit. See you next time, ladies and gentlemen.